Hello again, hope everyone's doing well. Today's video is episode 3 of the top 10 highest selling AFL cards, AFL rookie cards of the past week, and this week is ending the 2nd of October 2022. So you guys probably know the rules by now, but it has to be a rookie card, has to be post the year 2000, and I include the postage in the price as well. So let's get straight into the countdown, and to start us off in number 10, we've got Harry Taylor's gold draft pick signature from 2008 Select Classic. This card is numbered out of 400 copies and it sold for $61.95. This is the kind of card when I first came into the hobby which I thought was really cool and would hold value, but the reality is, even though Harry Taylor is a Geelong great and he had a very good to great career, he's just going to kind of fall in with the pack in the years going forward, and unless you're a really super elite player, you tend to be a bit forgotten by history. It's sad because he was such a great player for Geelong, but it's just the way it goes. I think at $61.95, this isn't a bad price if you're just a collector, but just don't be expecting it to go up anytime soon. Onto the card in the 9th spot, and this card is Cameron Fleeton's Platinum Draft Pick signature from 2021 Optimum. This really just shows how strong a lower numbered card and a signature can be, because Cameron Fleeton, I'm not going to lie, I don't know who this is. I'm pretty sure he's never played a game of AFL football, but with the low numbered card and the signature, you can attract some kind of value out of even an unknown player. So this one sold for $63.81 and it's numbered out of 40. Number 8 on the list, we've got a much better known player in Zach Butters from Port Adelaide, and specifically his draft rookie card from 2019 Dominance. This is a great looking card. It's numbered out of 250 and it sold for $71.67 this week. Now this is the same rookie release as Bailey Smith, Sam Walsh, and like I said, I really like the design. It's very strong, very kind of robotic in a way, and I think it will bode well into the future. Now Zach Butters, he's a very promising young player, and I think he's exactly the kind of player you can speculate on for $70 for this kind of card. And I'll be very interested to see what he dishes up next year and what Port Adelaide dishes up as well, because I think it could go both ways. Next, we've got another young player in the number 7 spot, being Hayden Young of the Fremantle Dockers, and his draft pick signature from 2020 Dominance. This is numbered out of 175 copies and has sold for $86 this week. At 175 copies, that's a pretty rare DPS, and you got to remember that these weren't tiered in 2020. So it is these players only DPS, which is good to keep in mind when thinking about what kind of prices they should go for. Hayden Young is someone I don't know a whole lot about, but I know that some Freo fans really rate him. And Freo is the kind of team that you think would be challenging in the next 2 to 3 years. So if you think Hayden Young's a big part of that, and you're getting his best card for $86, I don't actually think it's too bad of a deal. In number 6 this week, we've got the start of a Geelong hype train rolling on, and that is Joel Selwood's rookie card from 2007 Champions. It's not numbered, but its population is roughly 1,000, and it sold for $87 this week. So although I really like the draft pick signature going for $207 last week, I think this rookie card is quite overpriced at $87, and I think it's a very good example of not buying into the hype. I know there's not many of these cards going around at the moment and everyone wants a piece of Joel Selwood, but sometimes you just have to put your head in the sand and wait till the hype dies down a bit, because I'm sure in 6 to 12 months you'll be able to pick up this kind of card for a lot cheaper. Next, in spot 5, 4 and 3 this week, we've got the most fascinating card on the list for me, and that is Patrick Dangerfield's gold draft pick signature from 2008 Classic. Now, if you watched last week, you'd know that 3 of these actually sold last week as well. And I said after the last video, I think the price is going to go down a bit because there's so many on the market. But what's really fascinating, and this is what I love about the footy card industry, because they're slowly getting picked off the market now. There's still 4 on eBay, so it'll be super interesting to see in the coming weeks who wins out. Is it going to be the supply that wins out and there's just going to be too much supply that's going to oversaturate the demand, or will the demand run out and everything's just going to get plucked off eBay and then the price is going to jump up another level? Now this week they sold for $130, $135, and the last one sold for $156.95. So this is very surprising to me, and I'm going to be watching very intently in the coming weeks to see if this keeps pushing higher or whether this will retrace, especially once the hype dies down a bit after the grand final. In spot number 2 this week, we've got Archie Perkins and his gold draft pick signature from 2021 Optimum. This one is numbered out at 85 copies and it sold for $161.54. Now, last year, if I remember correctly, there'd be no way you'd be getting this card for $160 when the product first came out. And that's why I'm kind of doing this series now, because I want to have an accurate snapshot of what cards sold for previously and what they're selling for now. So I can't exactly tell you what this card was selling for, but in my mind, it must have been between $200 to $300, maybe even a bit more at its peak. Because it's come down so much, it's kind of starting to look like a good deal. And this can be a bit confusing sometimes, because just because something's come down 50% doesn't necessarily make it a good deal. But I think the seesaw of risk is kind of getting more towards the buyer's favor in this scenario. I mean, how much further can it go down for a young possible breakout star such as Archie Perkins? Personally, I don't see this going too much further under $100, so there's not a huge amount. There's still an amount of risk because he's a relatively unproven player, but the teeter-totter is slowly starting to work in the buyer's favor, like I mentioned. And with a few good games, and if you can put together a couple good seasons, this card could really see some increases into the future. And in number 1 spot this week, we've got a massive modern card, which is already iconic in the hobby, I think, and that is Sam Walsh's DPS from 2019 Dominance. This card is numbered out of 175 copies and it sold for $810. Now, Sam Walsh, I do think he is still a tad overvalued or overrated at the moment. He has had a stellar start to his career, but he's got a long way to go to meet the other people in the competition and even meet a teammate like Cripps. And when you compare Cripps's DPS, yes, that's pushing $500-600 now, but Walsh's is still higher and he hasn't done half the stuff that Cripps has done in his career so far. So when comparing this price to other DPSs of people who are already legends of the game, I find it a bit tough to swallow. But Cullen's team is starting to look super scary. Obviously, we've got someone like Walsh, Cripps, they've just locked in Mackay, they've locked in Kerno on a long-term deal, Wiedering, so they've got an elite spine of their team. And I think if they don't go top 4 in the next couple of years and win a flag in the next 5 to 10 years, they will be bitterly disappointed in themselves. And if they do turn out to be that kind of dynasty team with the names I've got at the moment, Sam Walsh could definitely etch his way into the history books as one of those legendary players that I usually talk of on this channel. But that's the list for today. We had 5 older cards, spearheaded by the 3 Dangerfield sales, which I found super interesting. And then we had 5 cards of younger stars, topped off the list with Sam Walsh. So thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.